Now, a couple nights ago, I was watching a movie, or I should say a TV show. And in the middle of a TV show, as usual, there was a commercial. And the commercial came on, and it was for a prescription drug, which I won't name, just in case anybody here has a relationship with it. And this commercial was playing, and they said, side effects include depression, anxiety, hair loss, and possibly death. And I couldn't help just burst out laughing when I saw this commercial on TV. But then it also made me realize there is something at play here that is not just with drugs, but with our organizations. In other words, what are the side effects of working at your organization? It's similar to taking a prescription drug. Right? It's not that dissimilar from many of these organizations. There are many organizations around the world, and I've seen them firsthand, where employees experience loss of sleep. They get in arguments with their spouses. They gain weight, bleeding from the eyes, and in some cases, death. The sad part about the death piece is it's actually happened, right? I'm sure you guys have all seen articles of people that work in either technology or in finance that have worked so hard that they have literally died, right? So this is an actual thing that is happening. So it's important for us to think about what are the side effects of working at your organization? Are there good side effects? Are employees engaged and empowered? The organizations that you're looking to partner with and explore and bring the employees into, what are the side effects of those organizations? And you can actually ask that, right? When you build these relationships with these companies, you can ask them, what are the side effects of working here? Do people die when they come into here? Are they sleeping? Are people happy? Right? You can actually ask these questions. Now, psychologists determine that there are two ways of thinking. There's system one thinking, and there's system two thinking. And I like to think about employee experiences in much the same way. System one thinking is fast. It's automatic. So in other words, if I were to say, what is 1 + 1? You would say, 2 + 2 is? So it's automatic. You don't have to think. It's kind of like breathing. And then there's system two thinking, which is more deliberate. It's more designed. It's more purposeful. It's something that you have to actually think about. And I'll give you an example. It's a famous problem called the bat and the ball problem. A bat and a ball both cost $1.10. I'll get out of the way so you can see. The bat costs $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost? 5 cents. How many people here think it's 10 cents? How many people here think it's $1? A quarter? Okay, a lot of people here said 5 cents, which is great. Right? Most people always say 10 cents when they first look at that. Because they say 10 cents, $1 more than that, okay, it's $1.10. Right? But this is an example of more purposeful thinking. It's something that you need to take a step back. It's something that you need to think about a little bit more. And I think this is the approach that we need to take for employee experiences. Oftentimes, our experiences that are designed within our organizations are based on systems one type of thinking. They're checklists. They're automatic. They are not focused on trying to understand what the employee cares about, what they value. It's just kind of check the boxes. These things are all here. Right? We don't take a step back and actually design these experiences for employees. I'll give you an example of what some of that actually looks like. The good news is that every organization around the world, regardless of how big you are, regardless of how small you are, regardless of the industry that you are in, the employee experience is comprised of only 3 unique environments in your organization: the physical environment, the cultural environment, and the technological environment. That's it. Every employee experience is made up of just those 3 things. So let's start off with the first one, the physical environment.
Did you know that 96% of the people who watch videos on this channel are not subscribed? That's pretty crazy, right? Make sure that you hit subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can get notified when more videos just like this one are released.
This is the one that you can see, the one that you can touch, the one that you can taste. This is the cubicle. This is the art that you have hanging on the wall. This is the open floor plan. This is the dogs that are coming into the office, the food that your organization provides, right? What's funny about food? Oh, the dogs. Okay. Okay, I didn't make that shift. I was like, so yeah, it could be about any of those things. The physical environment is the one that you actually experience, that you're a part of. Right? And it's no wonder that this is important, because this is, I mean, when we show up to work, this is what surrounds us. This is what we are a part of. If you show up to a place that has no dogs, that looks like a hospital, you're going to feel a different way. Right? So the physical space absolutely matters. And this is why we're seeing so many conversations about open floor plans, cubicles, multiple floor plans. What things can we offer? And there are a couple questions that I think you can ask, not just for your organizations, but the ones that you are looking to be a part of, to help you identify if these organizations care about physical space. The first one is, do you offer multiple modes of working? Oftentimes when we hear about the physical space, organizations think open versus closed versus open. But the reality is it's not so simple. Right? The most forward-thinking organizations in the world don't think about just an open floor plan. They give employees multiple modes of working. If you want quiet time, you can have it. If you want an open floor plan, you can have it. If you want a collaborative space, it's there. If you want a cafe-like environment, that's there. If you want a learning space, that is there as well. So does your organization offer multiple modes of working? I think that's the first key question you can ask to determine if an organization has an effective physical space. The second question is, does the physical space energize employees and make them feel creative? That is another huge thing. And again, these are questions that I'm constantly developing based on the interviews that I'm doing with executives. The third question that I would add, that I just recently came up with after doing some more interviews that's not on here, is, does your organization's physical space emanate the values that your organization has? I'll give you an example. And I was talking about this with Ron and Josh in the back. Years ago, I got called into one of the world's largest grocery retail chains. And they said they wanted to become very communicative, collaborative. They said transparency. All these things were a part of their corporate values. Right? They had them on plaques. They had banners on them. It was all over the place. And I said, all right, sure, I'll come down and let's talk. Let's see what's going on. And I showed up to their offices, and I kid you not, everybody is in a suit and tie. This was the most formal group I have ever seen, ever. And what's interesting is that these are non-customer facing roles. And I walk into the offices, and as far as you can see is just a row of cubicles. And these are not just cubicles, but these are cubicles that go above your head so you can't see people, right? People poke out like little meerkats every now and then, look around and kind of go back in there, right? That's what this looked like. And it was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. It was freaky. It was really, really weird. And I asked them, do you guys even have casual Fridays? And they said, oh yeah, casual Friday, you can lose the tie and just kind of come in without the tie. Like, that was their idea of casual Friday. And I said, well, why is it like this here? Have you guys ever thought about even just talking to the CEO about the dress code? And they said, oh yeah, we did that. And I said, and what happened? They said, well, we brought it up with the CEO, and he said it was like that the day he got here, and it's going to be like that the day he leaves. End of discussion. That's it. That is it. That is a classic example of an organization that has one set of values that are not exhibited in the physical space. You cannot say that you care about transparency and communication and collaboration when you are doing this to your employees and when their physical space is the exact opposite of the values that you were trying to convey. So that is why I wanted to add that question that you guys can ask for the organizations that you're looking at as well. Does the physical space convey the values that the organization has? The second environment is the cultural environment. Now, I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've gone inside some of the world's most forward-thinking offices, and I've filmed them, and this is all on YouTube. Anybody can watch this. And I've interviewed employees and I've interviewed executives and their podcasts. I mean, you can actually hear these conversations and what these people have told me. It's all public. And culture, this is the environment that you actually feel. Right? This is not the one that you can see or touch or taste. This is the one that you feel. Now, of everybody that I've interviewed, whether they're an executive or an employee, consistently culture is the number one thing that they always care about. They always care about the culture. And the culture is a big thing. It's organizational design, it's leadership style, whether it's hierarchy, whether it's command and control, whether it's a flatter structure. So culture is very, very important. And it's not just, I know there's a lot of talk about purpose. And what I have found from doing a lot of interviews with executives is that although purpose is important, it goes beyond just purpose. And so these are some of the questions I think you can ask. Not only do your employees feel a sense of purpose, but do they feel a sense of worth? And do they feel like they are being treated fairly? Because you can have a sense of purpose and still not feel that you are being treated fairly. You can have a sense of purpose and still not feel like you have a sense of worth. So when it comes to corporate culture, purpose is important, but let's not forget about a sense of worth and treating employees fairly, because that also matters and that also shapes your corporate culture. The third and last piece of this concept of designing employee experiences is the technological environment. These are the tools that you use, the apps, the software, the user interface, the user experience. Right? These are the things that you actually use to get your job done. Right? Here, for example, it's the app that you would download, the knob app that you would download to stay up to date on what's going on with the event. Right? It is everything that you use to actually get your job done. Now, I remember years ago there was this big debate, and everybody always used to say, oh yeah, with technology, the office is going to go away. Offices are going to die. Nobody's going to have an office anymore. What we find is the exact opposite is true. The office is coming back full steam. CBRE, which is a global commercial real estate firm, has identified that we are at an all-time real estate high. Well, not all-time, but in the past 7 or 11 years, we are at a high for investment in commercial real estate. So what's happening? Right? If the office isn't dead and we're building new offices, what are these offices? What's the point? Right? The thing is that offices aren't dying. They are re-emerging as employee experience centers. This is why organizations like Apple, this is why organizations like Google and Samsung and Cisco and Whirlpool and Mars Drinks are spending hundreds of millions of dollars in building new offices where people want to show up. So it's not that the office is dead, it's that our concept of the cubicle, of that type of an office is dying and being replaced by this new world, this new type of place that's focused on experience where people want to show up. So a couple questions you can ask about technology to determine if the organizations that you work with or are part of are focusing on this environment. Number one, is the technology consumer grade? There used to be this big debate all the time, oh, enterprise class technology, it's enterprise class, enterprise, yada, yada, yada. What's happening today, it's a fascinating shift, is that we're actually trying to figure out how consumer grade is it? Is the technology so good and does it look so good that you would want to use it in your personal life? Right? We use Twitter and Facebook because not only are those tools useful, but they are good. They're easy. We get them. Is the technology that you're offering your employees so good that they would consider using it in their personal life outside of work? That's question number one. The other two questions you can ask is the technology available to everybody? Right? Sometimes it's just for a small pocket. And the third one, which I think is very telling, is does the technology focus on understanding the business needs of the employees or on the technical requirements? Now, typically in IT, what happens is they design and they build things based on technical needs, on a checklist. Can it do this? Check. Can it do that? Check. But what we're starting to see is a shift, not towards checking off boxes, but towards actually understanding how employees want to use the technology and what they're going to do with it. The analogy I like to use all the time is, if you were to say you wanted a car, and I just went through a checklist and said, engine, check. 4 tires, check. Brakes, check. And I handed you some weird looking thing that had all those things that were a part of it, you would say, what the hell is this? I would say, it's a car. That's what you wanted. I went through the checklist. It's got what you wanted. That's a car. You would say, no, I can't be seen in this atrocity. Right? So it's important for us to think about not just the actual requirements from the technology perspective, but the needs of the employees. And employee experience in general is much the same way. We have to think about it in terms of not just a checklist, but in terms of the actual employees that are going to be going through this experience with us.